Well, hey there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Badass Banking. Now, notice this time I got it right. Sometimes they say badass banker. Well, I've got a badass banker on, and I usually do. That's why I say that. But it is Badass Banking, and today I'm joined with Jim Perry, who's a senior strategist at Market Insights. Jim, how you doing today?
Doing great. I'm getting so used to these kind of little virtual things. It's got it down pat, right?
It's kind of sad when you think that we're getting used to this. I was on a call with Dave DeFazio with Strategy Core today, and he said he saw a shirt that said, "Hey, I'm on mute" or something like that. And it's
I
just
love
a
it.
sign of the times. And the biggest challenge is when you have these calls, you're like, well, wait a minute, is it WebEx? Is it GoTo? Is it FaceTime? Is it Zoom? What the hell is it? It's
Yeah, and I was
confusing.
doing something the other day. Somebody introduced me to yet again a whole new platform, StreamYard, you know?
StreamYard.
Yeah, which allows you to live stream on LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever. It's like, yeah, who knew we'd have to make all these adjustments, right?
Yeah, well, we're becoming very omni-channel. There's no doubt about it. Tell me about the company and tell me about what you do.
Sure, absolutely. Market Insights has been around for, let's see, like 27 years. So just think about that block of time and think of how much has changed in that period of time. Our firm has really been focused on just helping community banks and credit unions. Um, so we've been basically out there working with community-based institutions. You know, Back in the day, it was all about, hey, where are we going to put our next branch? Not so much anymore, right? Um, Really, all of our work is just about helping people understand their data about their markets, about their customers, about their competition, because we believe that data is necessary to make strategic choices.
Now,
These days,
are you getting into behavioral data too?
absolutely.
Are
Because
you seeing a lot more attention paid toward behavioral data now than in the past?
it's slowly but surely. You'd be surprised how few community-based institutions are still even kind of dealing in that area at all. It's kind of amazing. It's like, look, you really need to start paying attention to some of this psychographic data, some of this behavioral data, because that's the only way you can get a really clear picture of your markets. And that's got to shape every strategy, whether it's your delivery strategy, your staffing, your marketing, all of it, even your business model. You've got to take those kind of customer behaviors into account.
Yeah, no, I agree. So what do you think is keeping CEOs of banks and credit unions up these days at night?
Wow, you know what? I'd be surprised if there is just one thing.
It
It'd
would,
simply be the rate of change. Because everything is happening so quickly on all fronts, everything from how much the consumer is changing. I mean, think of the behaviors, the way they've changed even in these last 6 months. And, everybody's trying to anticipate is that going to stick? Are we going to be able to see some of these new digital behaviors from some of these clients and customers? You know, the jury's still out on that. But I also think, people are having to deal with employee issues.
yeah.
There's in parts of the country, there's a huge talent crisis right now in the industry. People are trying to think, hey, we need to move into digital more. We need to be able to start transforming our whole organization. But guess what? We can barely find tellers to fill that job, yet alone somebody with the skill set that we're going to need to do what we need to do. So yeah, there are just so many things. Not only, what are we going to do with all of our bricks and mortar? We got a lot of real estate out there. What are we going to do with it if people stop coming in? If post-COVID, they're not coming in the door anymore. They're doing more and more of their transactional activity on their digital devices. How are we going to make this profitable?
Yeah.
So lots of things should be keeping them up at night.
It's funny. I was talking to a CEO recently, and she was telling me, there's this whole work from home thing is legit, and there's a lot more work from home we can do going forward. So from an operational point of view, my back office can be remotely located. And I said, well, think about that for a minute. How does that impact how you serve your customers? You've got customers right now that are probably saying something similar. They're probably saying, while I'm used to going to the branch after work, I really don't need to do that anymore. But there's going to be a lasting impact here.
I agree. Actually, I don't know if you saw just a couple of days ago, the CEO of Fifth Third Bank uh, was pretty clear in an interview saying, "Look, I expect there's a lot of digital behaviors that are going to stick
Yeah.
because people are finding out how convenient it is, how safe it is. We've worked so hard to make things secure." I think that was a big barrier for a lot of consumers, especially a lot of older consumers. But now that they're getting the kind of reassurance from their financial partners saying, look, we're out there doing everything we can to protect you. And, if you can make their life easier, why would they say, oh gosh, I have to get in my car and drive 4 or 5 miles, break up my day just to do this transaction? It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So you think that digital transformation is actually really happening this time? Because we've talked about it probably throughout our careers, right? I mean,
Right.
but now it's really happening? Is that your feeling?
Well, I think coronavirus has certainly kind of pressed down on the accelerator.
Yeah.
I think it still depends, unfortunately, on kind of the size of your market, the shape of your market. There are a lot, as I say, there are a lot of community-based institutions that are still in that kind of plug the holes kind of strategy. We're doing just what we need to do to make sure that our customers can interact with us right now. But transformation, that's still an awful big word for a lot of people. And I don't think, people are really even kind of wrapping their whole mind around it yet.
Yeah. And you've spoken in the past about the difference between digitization and digital transformation. Do you want to expand upon that a little bit?
Sure. It's pretty simple. Digitization is really something that most financial institutions have been doing for 25 or 30 years. Every time there's a new technology, something that's going to make an improvement to a product or service, they bring that on incrementally. But one of the things I always remind folks, in the process of doing it that way, it's ended up making these things happen in silos. So systems aren't talking to one another. You've got CRMs for customer engagement. You've got fraud alerts coming from another system. You've got your marketing is in a completely different dashboard. And so it's not going to serve in the long run because you're not getting a complete picture in real time about what's going on institutionally. And then on top of it, think of how often a financial institution brings a new product or service online that's all about technology. It's all digital. 90% of their employees don't use it. They don't understand it. They don't promote it because digital hasn't become part of their culture.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is one of the biggest differences between digitization and digital transformation, because digital transformation is everything. That's your culture, it's your technology, it's your front office, it's your back office. It's the whole 9 yards.
And those are also things that I think are keeping the bankers up at night, right?
Mm-hmm.
To your point,
Should be.
It should be. The accelerator is being stepped on because of COVID. I worry that post-COVID, we will soon forget all that we learned from this. And what we did learn from this, I think, is that we can conduct our business pretty much as usual. We continue to serve the customers, the members that we, need to serve. We can give them the product they need, the accessibility that they need, the convenience that they need. But I don't know if we'll remember kind of the fundamentals. For example, that digitization is a new way of thinking culturally, organizationally, and that digital is not a product per se or a service per se, but a way of thinking. We're still, I think, in a triage mode.
The one thing that I always tell folks, it's like, look, digital transformation is not a destination, right? This is a journey. This is something you've got to constantly be evolving. Just because you make some of these improvements here or some of these improvements there, even if you make them institution-wide, you don't stop. It's a whole new way of thinking. As Jim Marous is always saying, it's a mindset. Change your mindset, man, because that's what it takes. And that's probably been the hardest nut to crack in the financial services industry.
Yeah, and maybe that's because banking is such a commodity and a utility to consumers. There's been very little differentiation, and the motivation hasn't been there from maybe the banker's view.
It's true.
Your M&A activity is going to pick up in the fall, I'm sure. Certainly in the 2021, they're going to be survivors and winners and losers. I guess there will be in this. Fintech partnerships are going to increase. The velocity of those deals will increase. I don't think the banks are at jeopardy of being replaced necessarily by fintech from a holistic point of view, but the smarter ones are partnering with fintech very quickly to drive
absolutely
that. Yes.
And they should be, because obviously one of the things that should be driving decisions about digital transformation is your bottom line.
Yeah.
Your profitability. If you can't look at the efficiencies that are created by embracing a digital transformation process, let's face it, yes, it requires a lot of capital to make the kind of changes to legacy systems that most people are having to deal with. But without doing that, you're hardly going to be positioned for the long term.
It is a way of doing business. It impacts every aspect of your bank or credit union, front office, back office. And it sounds like data is going to be a very important, we'll call it a currency, in the effort to digitize your financial institution, right?
Right. It's the new oil, right?
The new oil. Okay, good. Well, listen, Jim, I appreciate it. I'm going to put all your contact info below. I just wanted this to be a very light conversation today.
Sure.
Talk about, what's going on. I like where you're going with that differentiation between digitization and digital transformation. The term disruption is another one. It's overused, right? I mean,
no, I was just going to say that I think the danger in the industry is when buzzwords get out there, it's real easy to kind of numb down, you know, and just stop paying attention to it after a while. Everybody's talking, we're all talking about it, but it's like until people can take the time to really look at how that's going to impact their individual institution and really evaluate how quickly they need to prioritize their next steps, they're just going to fall farther behind. And that's the sad part.
Yeah.
That's part of what's going to drive the face of this industry for the next 10 years.
Yep. Love it. Love it. All right. I'm going to put all your contact info in the description below so people can reach. I'm sure anyone can reach out to you anytime. You're on Twitter, you're on LinkedIn, you're one of these social banker types like me, which is important because it's all about engagement. This entire show is about engagement and conversation. We keep it light, collaborative. Please like, dislike, comments. You can say nice things, bad things. I don't care. It's all about engagement. That's what it's all about, right?
It totally is.
We have to drive collaboration and partnerships in this industry. Jim, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Brian, anytime. Thanks, man.